6 months after the Scarran defeat, Ambassador Helen Martinez stood in the same Galactic Council chamber where Earth had once been dismissed as unimportant. But everything was different now. The aliens who had ignored humanity were now hanging on her every word. Earth formally requests full membership in the Galactic Council, Helen announced to the assembled representatives. Behind her, holographic displays showed humanity's incredible progress. The images were hard to believe, even for those watching. Counselor Thuvan's many eyes focused on the displays. These ships, they're human-built? Yes, Helen replied, proudly. Our engineers didn't just copy your technology. They improved it. The truth was even more remarkable than Helen's words suggested. Dr. Emma Foster had led teams of human scientists who worked day and night to understand alien technology. But instead of simply copying what they found, humans had done what they always did. They had made it better. Captain Chris Morgan was commanding humanity's first faster-than-light ship, the Endeavor. The ship was smaller than most alien vessels, but it was faster and more efficient than anything the galaxy had seen before. Earth Control, this is the Endeavor, Chris radioed from somewhere near Alpha Centauri. FTL drive is working perfectly. We can reach any system in the galaxy in half the time it takes alien ships. The secret was human engineering philosophy. While aliens bought complex technology and used it without understanding it, humans studied everything until they knew exactly how it worked. Then they found ways to make it simpler, cheaper, and more effective. Chief Engineer Maria Gonzalez had revolutionized alien power systems by removing unnecessary components. The aliens use 10 different safety systems where we need only 3, she explained to a group of amazed Xanthari engineers who had come to study human methods. But what if something goes wrong? Asked the lead Xanthari engineer. Then we fix it, Maria replied simply. We don't build things that can't be repaired. This approach shocked the galactic community. Most alien species had become so dependent on buying ready-made technology that they had forgotten how to innovate. When something broke, they threw it away and bought a new one. Humans fixed things, improved them, and learned from the experience. The military implications were staggering. Admiral Jake Morrison was now commanding a fleet of human-designed warships that used completely new fighting tactics. The ships were built to work together in ways alien fleets couldn't match. The human fighting doctrine is spreading, reported General Corthan to the Xanthari High Command. 3 species have already asked to study their methods. The Vorthan Republic wants to hire human military advisors. General Corthan had spent months studying human tactics, and he had reached a disturbing conclusion. The humans don't just fight differently, they think differently. They see possibilities where we see only problems. This was exactly what Dr. Lisa Carter had been trying to explain to alien scientists who visited Earth. As Earth's science ambassador, she hosted delegations from dozens of worlds who came to study human innovation. The key is that we never accept that something is impossible, Lisa told a group of hegemony researchers. When we face a problem, we don't look for the standard solution. We look for any solution that works. The economic impact was equally dramatic. Trade negotiator Kevin Brown was dealing with offers from civilizations across the galaxy. Everyone wanted access to human technology and human thinking. The Galactic Trade Federation is offering us full membership with special privileges, Kevin reported to President Cooper. They want us to redesign their cargo ships to be more efficient. What about the military requests? The president asked. 12 different species want to hire human engineers. 8 want military advisors. The Antaran Collective is offering us 3 star systems in exchange for teaching them our manufacturing methods. The philosophical changes were perhaps the most important of all. Dr. Lisa Carter had introduced concepts that were spreading through alien universities like wildfire. The idea that limitations could lead to innovation was revolutionary to species that had always solved problems by buying better technology. Professor Torvan of the Zenthari Science Academy had become one of the biggest supporters of human thinking. For 1,000 years, we have believed that progress comes from accumulating more advanced tools, he told his students. The humans have shown us that progress comes from learning to use simple tools in creative ways. At the Galactic Council, the debate about Earth's membership was coming to an end. Species that had once wanted to destroy humanity were now competing to become their allies. The transformation had been so fast that many aliens were still struggling to understand it. Ambassador Veltar, who had once dismissed Earth as irrelevant, was now one of humanity's strongest supporters. We cannot deny Earth membership, he argued. They have proven themselves beyond any doubt. The floating ball of light pulsed thoughtfully. The question is not whether they deserve membership. The question is whether we deserve to have them as members. When the vote was called, it was unanimous. Earth would join the Galactic Council not as a junior member learning from advanced civilizations, but as an equal among equals. Standing at the podium, Ambassador Helen Martinez looked out at the thousands of alien representatives. 6 months ago, these same beings had considered humanity too primitive to notice. Now they were voting to welcome Earth as a full member of galactic civilization. Earth accepts membership in the Galactic Council, Helen announced. We look forward to working with all of you to build a better galaxy. But her next words carried a warning that every species understood. We also want to make something clear. Earth will defend itself and its allies against any threat. We've proven we can do that. The message was received. Humanity was offering friendship to those who wanted it, but they were also making it clear that they would not be victims again. In the months that followed, the galaxy learned that Earth's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their military tactics. It was their absolute refusal to believe that anything was impossible. Human engineers were redesigning alien cities to be more efficient. Human doctors were developing new treatments by combining alien medicine with human creativity. Human teachers were showing alien students how to think in new ways. But perhaps most importantly, humans were spreading the idea that every problem had a solution if you were willing to think creatively enough to find it. Captain Jake Morrison, now Admiral Morrison, stood on the bridge of humanity's newest ship, watching alien vessels from dozens of worlds flying in formation with human ships. A year ago, Earth had been alone in the universe. Now they were part of something bigger. Admiral, reported his communications officer, we're receiving requests for assistance from the Outer Rim colonies. Apparently, the Demon Star pirates are raiding again, and the local defenses can't stop them. Jake smiled. The Demon Star pirates had been a problem for the galaxy for decades. No military force had been able to stop them because they used unconventional tactics and hid in asteroid fields where big ships couldn't follow. Set course for the Outer Rim, Jake ordered. Let's show those pirates what happens when they face someone who wrote the book on unconventional tactics. As the human fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, Jake thought about how much had changed. Earth had gone from being a forgotten backwater to being the galaxy's problem solvers. And the best part was, they were just getting started. The galaxy was about to learn that when humans said nothing was impossible, they really meant it. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Admiral Zektron's fleet had limped back to Scarran space with only 5 ships still working. 7 dreadnoughts had been destroyed or abandoned. The survivors told stories that seemed impossible to believe. They used mining equipment as weapons, reported Commander Nextar to the Scarran High Command. His left arm was in a medical cast, and his face showed the stress of defeat. They threw asteroids at us like rocks. They fired projectiles from their moon that went through our shields like they weren't there. General Mortok, the highest military leader of the Scarran Empire, listened to the reports with growing disbelief. You're telling me that a pre-faster-than-light civilization destroyed 7 of our dreadnoughts? Yes, sir, Nextar replied. They don't fight like any species we've encountered. They use their environment as a weapon. They turned civilian equipment into military hardware. They rammed ships into each other using gravity. General Mortak had conquered dozens of worlds for the Empire. He had never heard of anything like this. What about their technology? Did they have secret weapons we didn't know about? Their weapons were primitive by our standards, Admiral Zektron explained. But they used them in ways we never expected. They built a railgun on their moon using fusion power. Simple physics, but incredibly effective. The news reached the Galactic Council. Within hours, Ambassador Veltar found himself standing before an emergency session, trying to explain how the species he had dismissed as harmless had just defeated one of the galaxy's major military powers. "The humans destroyed 12 dreadnoughts?" asked Counselor Thuvin, his many eyes blinking in disbelief. "With chemical rockets and mining equipment?" Veltar shuffled through his reports nervously. "According to Scaran intelligence, yes. The humans used unconventional tactics that the Scaran military was not prepared for." The floating ball of light pulsed brighter. "How is this possible? Our own analysis showed they were centuries away from being a threat." "It appears our analysis was wrong," Veltar admitted. He had never been wrong about anything this important before. His career was probably over. On Earth, Dr. Sarah Kim was monitoring alien communications from the Deep Space Listening Post. She had learned to speak several alien languages during her years of listening to their radio signals. What she was hearing now made her very worried. "General Stone," she called over the intercom, "you need to hear this." General Patrick Stone came to the listening post immediately. The victory over the Scarans had made him a hero, but he knew the real fight was just beginning. "What are they saying, Sarah?" he asked. Sarah played back the alien communications she had recorded. "Every major power in the galaxy is talking about us. The Zenthari military is running battle simulations. The Trade Federation is having emergency meetings. The hegemony is moving fleets to their borders." Patrick felt cold. "Are they planning to attack us?" "Some are," Sarah replied, "but others are scared. The Zenthari ran computer models of fighting us. Every simulation showed they would lose at least half their fleet, even with their advanced technology." Meanwhile, Commander Nick Phillips was leading the team trying to understand the alien technology from the captured Scaran ships. The humans had managed to board 2 damaged dreadnoughts before they could self-destruct. What they found inside changed everything. "The alien computers are incredibly advanced," reported Dr. Emma Foster, the team's technology expert. "But they're also incredibly complex. The Scarans have forgotten how most of their own technology works." Nick looked at the alien control panel they had removed from a Scaran ship. It had thousands of buttons and displays, but no clear logic to how it was organized. "What do you mean?" "They buy all their technology from other species," Emma explained. "They don't innovate or improve anything. They just use what they're given. Look at this weapon system. It's powerful, but it's designed for fighting other ships that use the same technology." "And we don't use the same technology," Nick realized. "Exactly. Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons and guided missiles. They never thought someone would shoot a simple tungsten rod at incredible speed. Their tactics assume the enemy will fight in open space with similar ships. They never considered someone using asteroids and gravity as weapons. The implications were staggering. The galaxy's great military powers had become so dependent on standard technology and tactics that they couldn't adapt to creative thinking. On the Zenthari homeworld, General Corthon was reviewing the battle reports with his staff. The Zenthari were considered the best military strategists in the galaxy, but the human victory had shaken their confidence. "Run the simulation again," Corthon ordered. The holographic display showed Zenthari ships fighting human vessels. Every time, the result was the same. The humans would use unconventional tactics that the Zenthari computers couldn't predict. They would turn the battlefield itself into a weapon. "The problem is creativity," explained strategic analyst Gentar. "Our battle computers can predict any logical military response. But the humans don't respond logically. They improvise, they adapt, They use things as weapons that aren't supposed to be weapons. General Corthon studied the simulation results. What would happen if we brought twice as many ships? We would lose twice as many ships, Gentar replied. The humans don't fight to win battles. They fight to survive, and species that fight to survive are incredibly dangerous. Back on Earth, Professor Laura Campbell was analyzing the political situation. As Earth's leading expert on galactic politics, she understood that the military victory was only the beginning. The galaxy is in chaos, she reported to President John Cooper. Some species want to destroy us before we become more dangerous. Others want to ally with us for protection. The Trade Federation is split down the middle. President Cooper looked tired. The stress of first contact and war had aged him years in just weeks. What do you recommend, Laura? We need to move fast, Laura replied. Right now, we have the advantage of surprise, but that won't last long. We need to show the galaxy that we're not a threat to peaceful species, only to those who attack us. And how do we do that? We build our own faster-than-light ships and join the galactic community. But we do it as equals, not as junior members. The idea was ambitious beyond anything humans had ever attempted. But Dr. Emma Foster had been studying the captured alien technology day and night. I think we can do it, she told the assembled leaders. The alien FTL drives are complex, but the basic physics is something we understand. We can build our own version. How long? President Cooper asked. 6 months, maybe less if we work around the clock. Admiral Jake Morrison, now commanding Earth's expanded defense fleet, had been listening to the reports. 6 months might be too long. Sarah's communications intercepts show that some alien fleets are already moving toward our region of space. Then we'd better work faster, Emma replied. As the meeting ended, everyone understood that Earth had crossed a line. They were no longer an isolated world that could be ignored. They had become a galactic power, whether they wanted to or not. The question now was whether they could survive long enough to prove they deserved that status. In the Galactic Council chambers, the debate raged on. Some species wanted to destroy Earth immediately. Others argued for negotiation. But everyone agreed on one thing. The galaxy would never be the same. The humans had shown that advanced technology meant nothing without creative thinking. They had proven that a species didn't need to be the strongest to be dangerous. Most importantly, they had demonstrated that the galaxy's comfortable assumptions about warfare and power were completely wrong. The backwater planet had become the center of galactic attention, and nobody knew what would happen next. Admiral Zektron watched his massive dreadnoughts move into the asteroid belt. His ships were built to fight other warships in open space, not to chase small vessels through floating rocks. The asteroids were everywhere, some as big as buildings, others as small as cars. His ships had to move slowly to avoid crashing into them. "Where are the human ships?" he demanded. "We're detecting them on sensors, but they keep disappearing," reported Commander Nextar. "They seem to know exactly where every asteroid is." Zektron was getting frustrated. This was supposed to be easy. His intelligence report said humans were primitive and weak. But these humans were fighting like they had nothing to lose and everything to prove. Suddenly, explosions began going off around his lead ship. But these weren't normal weapons. They were mining charges, the same explosives. Humans used to break apart asteroids. The charges were small, but they were hitting his ships in exactly the right places. "Engine damage on Dreadnought 3, came a report. "Weapons offline on Dreadnought 7. "How are they doing this?" Zektron shouted. The answer was Colonel Steve Walker, commanding Earth's defense fleet from his small ship called the Hornet. Steve had been a military engineer before becoming a pilot. He understood that humans couldn't win a fair fight against the Scarans, so he had decided not to fight fair. "Target their engine exhausts," Steve radioed to his pilots. "Hit their sensor arrays. Don't try to destroy them. Just make them blind and slow." Lieutenant Ben Taylor was flying his ship, the Wasp, directly at a Scaran dreadnought. His ship was tiny compared to the alien vessel, but it was fast and hard to hit. Ben waited until the last second, then fired his entire payload of mining charges into the alien ship's engine. At the same moment, he hit his ejection seat. Ben's ship smashed into the Scaran engine and exploded. The explosion wasn't big enough to destroy the dreadnought, but it was enough to damage the engine badly. The massive alien ship began spinning out of control. "Ben's okay," reported Captain Amanda Price, who had picked up Ben's escape pod. "But his ship is gone." "Worth it," Ben said over the radio. "That big ugly ship isn't going anywhere fast." On the other side of the asteroid belt, engineer Kelly Roberts was putting her plan into action. Kelly had spent months turning civilian equipment into weapons. The asteroid mining ships were now carrying military-grade explosives. The cargo haulers were fitted with armor plating. Even the tourist shuttles had been given weapons. "Kelly to all mining ships," she radioed. "Time to earn your pay. Let's show these aliens what real miners can do." The mining ships began their attack. They didn't fight like military vessels. Instead, they fought like what they were, workers who knew how to move heavy objects and blow things up. They used their industrial tractor beams to grab asteroids and throw them at the Scaran ships. They used their drilling equipment to punch holes in alien armor. Commander Rachel Green was leading a group of ships near Jupiter. Her plan was the craziest one yet. She was going to use Jupiter's gravity to slingshot disabled Scaran vessels into each other. "All ships follow my lead," Rachel radioed. "We're going bowling." Her ships had managed to disable a Scaran dreadnought by destroying its engines. Now they were using their small ships to push the massive alien vessel toward Jupiter. The gravity would grab the dreadnought and swing it around the planet like a stone in a sling. "Calculating trajectory," reported her navigation officer. "If we do this right, we can hit 2 more Scaran ships with this one." "And if we do it wrong?" Rachel asked. "We all die horribly." Rachel smiled grimly. "Sounds about right. Let's do it." The plan worked perfectly. The disabled Scaran ship swung around Jupiter and crashed into 2 other dreadnoughts. All 3 ships were badly damaged and out of the fight, but the biggest surprise was still coming. On the dark side of the moon, Dr. Tony Mitchell was making final preparations for his secret project. For 2 years, he had been building something the military called the Moon Gun. It was a railgun powered by a fusion reactor designed to fire tungsten rods at incredible speeds. "Tony to Earth Command," he radioed. "The Moon Gun is ready. I need a target." General Patrick Stone was watching the battle from Earth Command. His ships were doing better than anyone had expected, but they were still outnumbered. The Scarans were adapting to human tactics, and more human ships were being destroyed. "Tony, can you hit the Scaran flagship?" Patrick asked. "Give me 30 seconds to calculate the shot," Tony replied. Dr. Tony Mitchell had been a physics professor before the war started. He understood energy and motion better than almost anyone on Earth. His railgun was simple in concept, but incredibly complex in execution. It used magnetic fields to accelerate a tungsten rod to 15% of light speed. "Target locked," Tony announced. "Firing in 3, 2, 1. The tungsten rod shot out from the moon faster than anything the Scarans had ever seen. It was invisible to their sensors because it was too small and too fast. The rod hit Admiral Zektron's flagship with the force of a nuclear bomb. The Scaran shields, which could stop energy weapons and missiles, were useless against a solid object, moving at such incredible speed. The rod punched through the flagship's armor like it was paper. Explosions erupted throughout the massive ship as critical systems were destroyed. "What hit us?" Zektron demanded, but half his bridge crew was dead or injured. Emergency lights were flashing and alarms were going off everywhere. "Unknown projectile weapon," gasped Commander Nextar, "came from the direction of their moon." Zektron couldn't believe it. These primitive humans had built a weapon that could punch through Scaran armor. How was that possible? The answer was simple. While the Scarans had focused on building bigger ships and stronger shields, Humans had focused on building better bullets. The railgun was based on human military thinking. If you can't build a bigger gun, build a faster bullet. But the humans weren't done yet. Captain Ryan Brooks was approaching in the Generation ship, which had been converted into the largest weapon ever built by humans. The massive ship was loaded with every explosive device Earth could produce. "This is Brooks to Admiral Zektron," Ryan radioed. "You want to conquer Earth? Come and take it." The Generation ship began accelerating toward the Scaran fleet. Its fusion engines were running at maximum power, pushing the massive vessel faster and faster. If the Scarans wanted to stop it, they would have to destroy it, but the explosion would take out half their fleet. Zektron faced an impossible choice. His easy conquest had turned into a nightmare. These humans fought with a creativity and desperation that his military training had never prepared him for. They used gravity as a weapon. They turned mining equipment into warships. They fired projectiles from their moon. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "3 more human vessels are approaching at high speed. They appear to be using their engines as ramming weapons." Admiral Zektron looked at his damaged fleet. Half his ships were disabled or destroyed. His flagship was barely operational, and the humans were still fighting. For the first time in his long military career, Zektron gave an order he had never given before. "All ships, retreat. We're leaving this system." The Scaran fleet began withdrawing, limping away from Earth, with their pride and their ships in ruins. They had learned something terrible. The humans were not primitive. They were something far more dangerous. They were creative. 3 years had passed since the Galactic Council decided to ignore Earth. During those years, humans kept building and learning. They finished the Generation ship and started work on 2 more. Their space stations grew bigger, their weapons grew stronger. But the galaxy still didn't notice. That changed on a Tuesday morning when Captain Amanda Price was doing her regular patrol around Earth. She was flying a small defense ship called the Guardian. It was nothing special by alien standards, but it was the best thing humans had built. Amanda was checking the sensor readings when something made her coffee cup fall off her desk. "Computer, what was that?" she asked. "Large energy signatures detected at the edge of the solar system," the computer replied in its calm voice. 12 unknown vessels have just appeared." Amanda's heart started beating faster. She pressed buttons to get a better look at the newcomers. When the image appeared on her screen, she felt sick. The ships were huge, each one bigger than a city. They were black metal with red lights, and they looked like they were built for war. "This is Captain Price to Earth Command," she said into her radio. "We have visitors, and they don't look friendly." Back on Earth, General Patrick Stone was having lunch when the emergency alarm went off. He ran to the command center, where dozens of people were staring at screens and talking quickly. The biggest screen showed the 12 alien ships moving toward Earth. "How long until they get here?" Patrick asked. "At their current speed, about 6 hours," replied Lieutenant Colonel Betty Davis. "Sir, those ships are massive. Our computer says each one could carry 50,000 soldiers." Patrick felt cold sweat on his forehead. This was the moment Earth had been preparing for, but he had hoped it would never come. "Activate Protocol 7. Get every ship we have into space. Wake up the President." The alien fleet was commanded by Admiral Zektron of the Scaran Empire. He was 8 feet tall, with gray skin and red eyes. He had conquered 12 planets for the Empire, and Earth would be his 13th. His intelligence reports said the humans were weak and primitive. This would be easy. "Admiral," said his second-in-command, Commander Nextar, "the humans have launched their entire fleet, 28 vessels." Zektron laughed. It sounded like metal grinding against metal. 28 ships? We have 12 dreadnoughts. Each one of our ships could destroy their entire fleet." On the main screen, Zektron watched the human ships flying toward his fleet. They were tiny compared to his dreadnoughts. They moved slowly, using old-style chemical engines. Some of them looked like they had been built in someone's garage. "Open a communication channel," Zektron ordered. "Let's talk to these primitives." The channel opened, and Zektron found himself looking at a human woman with gray hair and kind eyes. She was sitting in what looked like an office on Earth. This was Director Helen Martinez, Earth's top diplomat. "I am Admiral Zektron of the Scaran Empire," he said in a voice that had made other species surrender immediately. "You will submit to our authority. Your planet will serve the Empire. Resistance is pointless." Helen smiled slightly. "I'm Helen Martinez, Director of Earth's Diplomatic Corps. I'm afraid your demand is not acceptable. Please withdraw from our system, or we'll be forced to defend ourselves." Zektron couldn't believe what he was hearing. Was this human female making a joke? "Did you just threaten me? Do you see my fleet? Do you understand what you're facing?" "I see 12 large ships that don't belong in our solar system," Helen replied calmly. "And yes, I understand exactly what we're facing. The question is, do you understand what you're facing?" The Admiral's red eyes glowed brighter with anger. No primitive had ever spoken to him like this. "You have 1 hour to surrender. After that, we will take your planet by force." Helen's smile disappeared. "Then I guess we'll see you in an hour, Admiral." The communication ended. Zektron turned to his officers. "Prepare for invasion. These humans seem to think their toy ships can fight us. Let's show them how wrong they are." On Earth, Helen was meeting with President John Cooper and the military leaders. The president looked worried, but Helen seemed calm. "Are you sure about this, Helen?" the president asked. "Maybe we should try to negotiate." "There's nothing to negotiate," Helen replied. "They want us to become slaves. That's not going to happen." "General," Patrick Stone stood up. "Our ships are in position. Captain Jake Morrison is leading the defense fleet. He knows what to do." In space, Jake Morrison was looking at the alien fleet through his ship's telescope. The Scaran dreadnoughts were beautiful in a terrifying way. They looked like metal, mountains floating in space. Jake's ship, the Defender, was like a rowboat next to a battleship. "All ships, this is Morrison," he said into his radio. "Remember the plan. We're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to survive long enough to hurt them." Captain Ryan Brooks was commanding the Generation ship, which had been quickly turned into a weapon. "Jake, the big ship is ready. We've loaded it with everything we've got." "Good," Jake replied. "When I give the signal, punch it." The hour passed. Quickly, when it was over, Admiral Zektron gave the order to attack. "All ships, move forward. Destroy any human vessel that gets in our way." The Scaran dreadnoughts began moving toward Earth. Their weapons charged up, creating bright lights along their hulls. Each ship could destroy a moon with a single shot. But as they moved forward, something strange happened. The human ships didn't attack them directly. Instead, they scattered like insects, flying in random directions. Some headed toward the asteroid belt. Others flew toward the outer planets. A few seemed to be running away completely. "What are they doing?" Commander Nextar asked. "They're running," Zektron said with satisfaction. "Fire on any ship within range." The dreadnoughts opened fire. Bright beams of energy shot across space, but the human ships were too small and too fast. The beams missed most of their targets. A few human ships were hit and destroyed, but most of them escaped. "Sir," reported the weapons officer, "the humans are using the asteroid belt for cover. We can't get a clear shot." Zektron was getting annoyed. "Then follow them into the asteroid belt. How hard can it be to catch a few primitive ships?" This was exactly what Jake Morrison had been hoping for. The Scaran ships were big and powerful, but they were not built for flying through asteroid fields. The human ships were small and quick. They knew every rock in the belt because they had been mining there for years. "Phase 2, Jake announced. "Let's show them what we're really capable of. What happened next would change the galaxy forever." Commander Jake Morrison pressed his face against the cold metal window of the space station. Far below him, Earth looked like a blue marble floating in the darkness. Above him, the stars seemed so close he could almost touch them. But Jake knew better. Those stars were home to thousands of alien races, and none of them cared about Earth. A silver ship moved across his view. It was huge, maybe 10 times bigger than anything humans had ever built. Jake watched it pass by without stopping, without even sending a message. This was the 3rd time this month that alien ships had ignored Earth completely. "They did it again," said Dr. Lisa Carter as she walked up behind him. She was holding a small computer in her hands. Her face looked tired and frustrated. Jake turned around. "What did the bug people say this time?" Lisa looked at her computer screen. "The Zenthari finished their report about us. They say we are too young and too stupid to matter. They think we are like children playing with toys." Jake laughed, but it was not a happy laugh. Children with toys. Right. What about our nuclear power? What about our space stations? What about the fact that we figured out how to split atoms? "They don't care," Lisa said. "We can't travel faster than light. That's all that matters to, them. If you can't go from star to star quickly, you don't count." Down on Earth, Captain Ryan Brooks was looking at the biggest project humans had ever tried. The Generation ship was almost finished. It was a massive metal city that would carry 50,000 people to another star. The trip would take 200 years. The people who started the journey would die long before it ended. Their great-grandchildren would be the ones to see a new world. Ryan walked through the ship's corridors. Workers were installing the last pieces of equipment. The ship had farms to grow food, factories to make tools, and schools to teach children who weren't born yet. It was like building a whole world inside a metal shell. Captain Brooks called out engineer Kelly Roberts. She was covered in oil and sweat from working on the engines. "The fusion drive is ready for testing. We might actually pull this off." Ryan smiled. "The aliens think we're primitive. Let them. We'll get to the stars our own way." 300 light-years away, Ambassador Veltar was standing in front of the Galactic Council. The room was enormous, with thousands of seats for representatives from different worlds. Most of the seats were filled with strange beings. Some looked like giant insects, others like walking trees, and some were just floating balls of light. Veltar was tall and thin, with purple skin and 4 arms. He was holding a file about Earth. "The humans are still stuck on their home planet," he said in a bored voice. "They have not invented faster-than-light travel. They probably never will." Counselor Thuven, who looked like a large crab with too many eyes, clicked his claws together. "What about their weapons? Are they dangerous?" "Not really," Veltar replied. "They have nuclear bombs, but those are toys compared to what we have. They fight each other more than anything else. Last century, they had 2 big wars that killed millions of their own people." A voice came from somewhere in the chamber. It sounded like wind blowing through metal tubes. "What about their science? Do they understand the universe?" Veltar looked at his notes. "They understand some things. They know about black holes and quantum physics, but they think in very simple ways. They believe everything has to be built, step by step. They don't understand that you can just buy technology from other races." The floating ball of light pulsed brighter. "Should we make contact with them?" "Why would we?" Veltar asked. "They have nothing we need. Their planet has some rare metals, but we can get those anywhere. Their culture is violent and chaotic. They would probably start a war if we talked to them." Thuven's many eyes blinked, one by one. "The Scaran Empire has been expanding lately. They might try to conquer the human world." "Let them," said Veltar. "The humans can't stop a real military force. If the Scarans want to waste time on one primitive planet, that's their choice. It might even keep them busy and out of our territory." The council voted without much discussion. Earth would stay on the watch but don't contact list. It was the same list as planets with smart animals, but no real civilization. The humans might become important someday, but that day was far in the future. Back on Earth, Jake Morrison was reading reports from the deep space monitoring stations. The aliens had so many ships flying around that human scientists had started naming the different types. There were cargo ships as big as cities, warships that could destroy planets, and scout ships faster than anything humans could imagine. They have thousands of ships out there, Jake told Lisa. And we have what? Maybe 50 vessels that can leave Earth's orbit? Lisa nodded. The generation ship will be our 51st, and it can barely reach the next star. Sometimes I wonder, what we're missing, Jake said. All those alien races working together, trading with each other, sharing knowledge. And here we are, alone in the dark. Maybe that's not such a bad thing, Lisa replied. Look at what we've built without any help. We went from flying in wooden airplanes to building space stations in less than a century. We did that all by ourselves. Jake looked out the window again. Another alien ship was passing by. This one, glowing bright red. It was moving so fast that it was just a streak of light. I wonder what they would think if they knew what we're really capable of. They'll find out someday, Lisa said. And I don't think they're going to like the surprise. In the Galactic Council chambers, the meeting was ending. Representatives were floating, walking, or slithering back to their ships. None of them gave Earth another thought. It was just another primitive world in a galaxy full of primitive worlds. Ambassador Veltar packed up his files and prepared to leave. The Earth report would go into the archives, where it would sit for decades without anyone reading it. Maybe in 100 years, some junior diplomat would update it. Maybe the humans would have learned to build better rockets by then. As his ship lifted off from the Council world, Veltar looked at the star charts. Earth was a tiny dot on the edge of civilized space. It might as well have been invisible. He had no idea that in less than 3 years, that tiny dot would change everything.